Today is Wednesday, November 19th, 2025. This is Read Through the Bible.
Hi, everyone.
You know, I know sometimes when people build houses for themselves, oftentimes it's a very stressful time for their marriages.
Yeah.
And very consuming as to think about all the different decisions that need to be made. But typically, if someone goes and builds a house, it takes, how long?
Well, it depends.
Yeah.
A year?
Yeah, maybe a year, I think seems like a good time. But we're going to read in 1 Kings chapter 7 about how Solomon builds his house.
His palace.
His palace takes him 13 years.
Yeah.
It took 7 years for the temple, and now it takes him 13 years for his house. This must have been quite the palace.
I think it was bigger and fancier in some ways than the temple.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the main point of chapter 7. So if you're working on summaries like we're encouraging you to do, this is, since 13 years, Solomon builds his own house. And then you can talk about Hiram is going to be in here as well. Like Hiram, king of Tyre, helped with this treaty, bringing the wood and the laborers. And here's going to do some bronze work
Right.
from Tyre for Solomon as well. Okay, so 1 Kings chapter 7. Solomon was building his own house 13 years, and he finished his entire house.
He built the house of the forest of Lebanon. Its length was 100 cubits, and its breadth 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits. And it was built on 4 rows of cedar pillars, with cedar beams on the pillars. And it was covered with cedar above the chambers that were on the 45 pillars, 15 in each row. There were window frames in 3 rows, and window opposite window in 3 tiers. All the doorways and windows had square frames, and the window was opposite window in 3 tiers.
And so, again, I would just encourage you in this reading is don't sweat the small stuff. You don't really need to know what exactly Solomon's palace looked like. You just need to know it was big and took 13 years to build. And he made the hall of pillars. Its length was 50 cubits, and its breadth 30 cubits, and there was a porch in front with pillars, and a canopy in front of them.
And he made the hall of the throne where he was to pronounce judgment, even the hall of judgment. It was finished with cedar from floor to rafters.
His own house, where he was to dwell in the other court back of the hall, was of like workmanship. Solomon also made a house like this hall for Pharaoh's daughter, whom he had taken in marriage.
All these were made of costly stones, cut according to measure, sawed with saws back and front, even from the foundation to the coping, and from the outside to the great court. The foundation was of costly stones, huge stones, stones of 8 and 10 cubits. And above were costly stones, cut according to measurement, and cedar. The great court had three courses of cut stone all around, and a course of cedar beams. So had the inner court of the house of the Lord and the vestibule of the house.
So that last verse really kind of compares Solomon's house and the house of the Lord, that each of them had like 3 great courses of cut stone. Mm-hmm. And now beginning in verse 13, we're going to see kind of finishing up the temple furnishings for the temple. So Hiram's going to come. He's going to do all the bronze work. He had provided all the wood, all the laborers. Also, he was skilled in bronze as well. And so these are things that are going to fill the temple. And King Solomon sent and brought Hiram from Tyre. He was the son of a widow of the tribe of Naphtali, and his father was a man of Tyre, a worker in bronze. And he was full of wisdom, understanding, and skill for making any work in bronze. He came to King Solomon and did all his work.
Interesting. His mother was from the tribe of Naphtali. So
yes.
She was Jewish.
Jewish, and she was a widow, so perhaps, she had traveled up to Tyre to find a man.
Yeah,
Could have been. No internet dating in those days, but went long and far to find a man.
Maybe. Okay, verse 15. He cast 2 pillars of bronze. 18 cubits was the height of one pillar, and a line of 12 cubits measured its circumference. It was hollow, and its thickness was 4 fingers. The second pillar was the same. And I just want to pause there, because we keep reading about cubits as a unit of measure. And just for those who don't know, a cubit is about 18 inches, about 1.5 feet. Technically, it's the length from your fingertip to your elbow. Mm-hmm. So that can maybe help you picture how big these are. Verse 16, he also made two capitals of cast bronze to set on the tops of the pillars. The height of the one capital was 5 cubits, and the height of the other capital was 5 cubits.
So it's 5 cubits. In order to change that to feet, you just take 5 plus half of 5 is 2.25. So it's 7.5 feet.
Yeah. There were lattices of checkerwork with wreaths of chainwork for the capitals on the tops of the pillars, a lattice for the one capital and a lattice for the other capital. Likewise, he made pomegranates in 2 rows around the one lattice work to cover the capital that was on the top of the pillar, and he did the same with the other capital. Now, the capitals that were on the tops of the pillars in the vestibule were of lily work, 4 cubits. The capitals were on the 2 pillars, also above the rounded projection which was beside the latticework. There were 200 pomegranates in 2 rows all around, and so with the other capital. He set up the pillars at the vestibule of his temple. He set up the pillar on the south and called its name Jachin, and he set up the pillar on the north and called its name Boaz.
And I think it's interesting. Sometimes people name their cars. Certainly a lot of people have names of their boats. Mm-hmm. And here Solomon in his house named the 2 names, so this is the house of the Lord, named the names of the pillars.
Yeah.
Jachin on the one side and Boaz on the other.
Verse 22, and on the tops of the pillars was lily work. Thus the work of the pillars was finished.
Then he made the sea of cast metal. It was round, 10 cubits from brim to brim, and 5 cubits high. And a line of 30 cubits measured its circumference. Under its brim were gourds for 10 cubits, compassing the sea all around. The gourds were in 2 rows, cast with it when it was cast. It stood on 12 oxen, 3 facing north and 3 facing west, 3 facing south, 3 facing east. The sea was on them, and all their rear parts were inward. Its thickness was a handbreadth, and its brim was like a brim of a cup. And the flower of a lily, it held 2,000 baths.
So a sea is like a big, giant bowl.
Yeah, it's for like cleansing, probably for some of the sacrifices and the cleansing of the priests and things like that.
Yeah, a bowl that's propped up on 4 oxen
Yep.
statues. Verse 27, he also made the 10 stands of bronze. Each stand was 4 cubits long, 4 cubits wide, and 3 cubits high. This was the construction of the stands. They had panels, and the panels were set in the frames. And on the panels that were set in the frames were lions, oxen, and cherubim. On the frames, both above and below the lions and oxen, there were wreaths of beveled work. Moreover, on each stand had 4 bronze wheels and axles of bronze, and at the 4 corners were supports for a basin. The supports were cast with wreaths at the side of each. Its opening was within a crown that projected upward 1 cubit. Its opening was round as a pedestal is made, 1.5 cubits deep. And at its opening there were carvings, and its panels were square, not round. And the 4 wheels were underneath the panels. The axles of the wheels were of 1 piece with the stands, and the height of a wheel was 1.5 cubits. The wheels were made like a chariot wheel. Their axles, their rims, their spokes, and their hubs were all cast. There were 4 supports at the 4 corners of each stand. The supports were of 1 piece with the stands. And at the top of the stand there was a round band 0.5 cubit high. And on the top of the stand its stays and its panels were of 1 piece with it. And on the surface of its stays and on its panels he carved cherubim, lions, and palm trees, according to the space of each, with wreaths all around. After this manner he made the 10 stands. All of them were cast alike, the same measure, and the same form.
So if you're having troubles picturing this, you can probably look up on the internet for some sort of picture would be fine. If not, just don't worry about it, really, because all you just need to worry about is that this is Solomon's furnishing of the temple. Is what he's doing.
Yeah, these were 10 stands, but they were bronze, like everything else in this section.
And then he made 10 basins of bronze. Each basin held 40 baths. Each basin measured 4 cubits, and there was a basin for each of the 10 stands. And he set the stands, 5 on the south side of the house and 5 on the north side of the house, and he set the sea at the southeast corner of the house. When we're talking about house here, we're talking about the temple, the house of the Lord.
Mm-hmm. Hiram also made the pots, the shovels, and the basins. So Hiram finished all the work that he did for King Solomon on the house of the Lord. The 2 pillars, the bowls of the capitals that were on the tops of the pillars, and the 2 lattice works to cover the 2 bowls of the capitals that were on the top of the pillars, and the 400 pomegranates for the 2 lattice works, 2 rows of pomegranates for each lattice work, to cover the 2 bowls of the capitals that were on the pillars, the 10 stands and the 10 basins on the stands, and the 1 sea and the 12 oxen underneath the sea. I think that right there, 41 through 44, is a good summary of all the bronze work that Hiram did.
Now the pots, the shovels, and the basins, all the vessels in the house of the Lord, which Hiram made for King Solomon, were of burnished bronze. In the plain of the Jordan, the king cast them in the clay ground between Succoth and Zarethan. And Solomon left all the vessels unweighed, because there were so many of them, the weight of the bronze was not ascertained. I mean, if you tell, like, everything here was made of bronze.
Yeah.
Like, this was the technology of the day, and everyone, whatever, Hiram knew how to do bronze, and so that's what they did.
So Solomon made all the vessels that were in the house of the Lord, the golden altar, the golden table for the bread of the presence, the lampstands of pure gold, 5 on the south side and 5 on the north, before the inner sanctuary, the flowers, the lamps, and the tongs of gold, the cups, snuffers, basins, dishes for incense, and fire pans of pure gold, and the sockets of gold for the doors of the innermost part of the house, the most holy place, and for the doors of the nave of the temple.
I think it's significant here that Solomon made those, so he didn't let this foreigner make the
gold,
the precious things for the inner
things.
Yeah, these are the things where the priest would come in and minister before the Lord. These are the sacred things. Solomon himself did that, or maybe whatever, had some Jewish worker do that, not Hiram, this foreign worker. Here it is, summary statement. Thus, all the work that King Solomon did on the house of the Lord was finished, and Solomon brought in the things that David, his father, had dedicated, the silver, the gold, the vessels, and stored them in the treasuries of the house of the Lord. So as we look to summarize chapter 7, we see that Solomon's house was built in 13 years. And then we see just a list of all the bronze furnishings of the house of the Lord.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Okay, we will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.